All right, everybody, welcome to the Weekly Outlook. We have the date tonight. Let's see here. Today is the 10th of December at 5:20 p.m. Eastern. All right. And on tonight's call, we have Chris, we have Carrie, Michael, John, April, Brian, Sasha, and David. Thank you all for being on the call. I appreciate you guys. I also gave access to the free guest chat as well. I wanted you guys to get some insight. So if you are from the free chat, this doesn't happen very often. This is usually content I share for our paid group. However, I wanted to give you guys some insight. Not going to be an incredibly long video. Last week's Weekly Outlook was pretty good. We shared a lot of information there. I do want to go over some charts tonight and talk about that a little bit here. But I want to get some perspective from those of you that are already in the official group that have been trading for a little bit. And I want to hear from you guys first before I actually get into the Weekly Outlook. So for those of you, everybody's got their video off except for a couple of you. Would anybody be willing to kind of chime in, talk a little bit about your experience so far with the training, with the signals, and your analysis on any particular currency at the moment? This whole thing is interactive, you guys. Like, the purpose of this is for you to have an analysis, for you to become an independent trader. And in order for you to do that, you have to make your analysis known and let people know kind of where you're at with things. So it's important that you get your ideas out there. So would anybody like to make any comments on the market right now? Where you guys see things at, playing out right now? Anything at all? All right, I know we have a few guests on here. I believe actually John and Sasha may be the only ones from the official group. They might not be able to talk right now. So we'll go ahead and get right into the content. I do prefer you guys, if you guys have video and audio, please go ahead and use it. I have everybody muted right now, but if you guys can turn your video on, that's great. That way we can interact, we can talk. I always try to make these calls very interactive. So if you guys are able to do that, I appreciate it. That would be a big help. That way I can get to know you guys a little bit better, especially those of you that are new, like Chris and Brian. It would be great to have you guys on. I appreciate you guys doing that for me. So let's get into it a little bit. Let's see what we're kind of working with here this week. All right, I want to look at something that I found was particularly interesting this week. The GBP USD drop. I thought that was very interesting. Definitely did not fall in line with my analysis. You guys have to remember, like, as traders, we're not always going to be right. So many people come into trading and they're like, oh, you know, I got to be right about every single trade. And that whole mindset of you getting married to a trade or just believing that all of your trades are going to work out, that's a quick way to blow an account. Remember, your job is to react to what the market tells you, not to predict the future. We just simply can't. There's no way you can predict the future. And in a volatile market like this, you know, it's difficult to do. However, with that being said, you can take history and look at the example that it gives you to understand, you know, where we're at with things, okay? So let's take a look at GBP USD. Definitely an interesting play here recently. And let me know if you guys can see my screen. Go ahead and just drop a 1 in the chat. Let me know that you guys can see. I know some of you guys had an issue with seeing the video earlier, so I want to make sure everybody can see this chart. I need to reset my modem, unfortunately. Had new internet. I noticed that for the first week it worked really well, and then it started to slow down. So I might need to call them. But okay, we have our chart here. Thanks, you guys, John, Chris, and Brian. All right, so here was my analysis for GBP USD. And again, everybody in the paid group gets access to this information. Those of you that are in the guest chat, you do get some information, but not really in its entirety, okay? So let's take a look here. So as you guys can see, I marked up support and resistance here on this chart, and I also noticed a descending wedge that was going on here, and it actually fell below the wedge and actually dropped well below support, okay? Now, many of you have been asking what we should do with this trade. Now, as you can see, it is oversold on the 4-hour. Honestly, I'm not really inclined to do anything with this right now because price action hasn't shown me anything different, okay? Price action has not convinced me that I should enter on a buy, okay? So if you're just looking at this chart and saying it's oversold, well, yeah, it's oversold, but a chart can be oversold for days, even weeks, okay? So we don't want to take the trade based off of that presumption that it's going to just reverse because it's oversold. We want price action to indicate that it could end up reversing. Now, there is something that I have noticed in terms of divergence. There is some long-term divergence going on here. If I go ahead and grab this arrow here, you can see that bottom. So I do see some bullish divergence. However, it's not as exaggerated as it was before, and it was pretty elusive. I actually thought that because of that descending wedge and because of that divergence, once it hit the end of the wedge, that it was going to go up. And as you guys can see here at the very end of the wedge, it ended up going down. So in my opinion, really my analysis of this is the market makers decided to blow out some stop losses. They knew that pretty much everyone was looking at a buy here because we were at support. So ultimately, they decided to go ahead and do a little bit of a sell-off, go ahead and pull some of those orders. Their job, right, is to take the money out of the market before they make the real move. So the expectation here and now is that we should be looking for a move to the upside. Even though it was pretty oversold and did go beyond support, I still am looking for a buy here. I'm just waiting for price action. So at this point, I'm really just looking for just a nice little move up, some high volume, okay, some higher volume bullish activity. And once I see that, a little bit of a rally going on, I would go ahead and buy that pullback. So if you are in the paid group, I'll let you in on that. But as of right now, I won't be entering the trade. Ultimately, it's up to you. Look, if you're somebody that says, hey, I think this is the bottom, I want to go ahead and buy this bottom, that's entirely up to you. I don't ever recommend chasing tops or bottoms. I know many people that have blown accounts trying to do that. I recommend reacting to the market and waiting for the market to tell you, okay, we're ready to start going up now. It's official, and buying into the trend. Okay? So I wanted to put that out there. Any other analysis on GU? Any thoughts on GU? Any different perspectives here? Go ahead and unmute if you'd like to talk a little bit about this pair. And if you're brand new and you just jumped on, welcome to the call. Thanks for coming on.
I'm wondering when's the last time market touched that level?
Okay, good question. Let's take a look at that. So it was actually not too long ago. I took a look at that myself, and it does look like it's fallen to another support. So let me jump on the daily. It'll be a little bit easier for us to see here. And again, I apologize for the lag, you guys. I don't know, for whatever reason, my internet's been going a little slow. It is possible I do need to restart my computer as well. So if we take a look here on the daily, it did actually go lower than that back in March of 17. Okay, and it actually consolidated in that zone, went sideways, and then moved up. Okay, and now we're riding right above this support here. Okay, that's definitely a confirmed support, so let's go ahead and illustrate that. Also known as a base. So you'll often hear us refer to that as a base as well. Okay, that's an area where price likes to hang out. Welcome to the call, Rachel. Thanks for jumping on. So you guys know that that's where price likes to hang out. And what happens when price goes sideways? It tends to reverse, right? So we saw here, price move sideways. and then it went up. And we noticed here at that resistance at that other base, price went sideways, and then a continuation, or I'm sorry, a reversal to the downside. Now, this is an interesting area that we're in here, this zone. We're kind of in the middle of a zone, but there is some support there. So this to me really is indicative of a reversal because we've had some sideways movement here. It hasn't really been a well-established trend. It went up, it created an M, it came down, it went back up again, and then another push to the downside. So I really am ultimately looking for a move to the upside. However, I want you guys to bear in mind, the US dollar has been very, very resilient. So when we look at any USD pair, we need to cross that with the DXY or the dollar index to make sure that our analysis is on point. The dollar did crash for like a day or two, but obviously it's still been resilient. So we need to always look at that before we make a full analysis because, again, we're trading the British pound against the US dollar. So we want to see where the strength is with the US dollar. So again, I'm waiting for it to make its move to the upside. It's still pushing down into the support. It's at the very, very low end of the support there. So I'll be looking to make a buy once we have some confirmed move to the upside. Because keep this in mind, you guys, you don't have to buy the bottom, okay? This upside move, even if it only goes to the top of that zone, you're still going to catch 750 pips, okay? Let's not be greedy. Let's not enter at the bottom because we want to make 800 pips. Who here is really going to hold that trade for 800 pips? Nobody. Nobody. But if you wait for an impulse, okay, and then a pullback, okay, where it's likely to rally from that point, then you're going to catch 600 pips, okay? But more likely 100 to 200, which is really the sweet spot of what we're looking to catch. Catch that nice little swing, grab that 200 pips and get out of the market, okay? So that's what we're looking at for GBP USD. Again, kind of an unexpected sell-off. However, with the resilience of the US dollar, hey, you know, I mean, anything's possible. And I do believe that the US dollar does need to retrace here pretty soon. But it's been pushing. It's been pushing. And it's hard to say when it's going to stop. It really is. So let's take a look at USD JPY. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Interesting. So we were looking at this last time. We noticed that we were in a clearly defined uptrend with higher highs and higher lows. And then we noticed that more recently at resistance, we noticed some higher lows and lower highs, okay? Or I'm sorry, lower lows and lower highs, right? So we've noticed sort of a pennant here forming. To me, we can go ahead and draw that. Okay, you guys can see how a pennant is forming. Now, in most cases, that would be considered a bullish pennant for a move to the upside. So we did talk about last time we could see a move to the upside and then finally the next downside move. Now, if you take a look at the most recent price action, we do have a large bullish candle that's formed, very, very large as a matter of fact, which indicates, excuse me, to me, that we're going to be looking at a move to the top of this zone. So I'm expecting a continuation to that trend line there, which if we look at the zone there, we're looking at a price of 114. Okay, 114 is where I'm looking at the sell to take place. Okay, so you could set a sell limit there, or you could take a continuation of this buy. But for those of you that know our strategy, we don't really trade continuations, we trade reversals. Okay, so really what I'm looking for is for it to enter our key level, because remember our confirmations, we're looking for a cross between the trend line and support and resistance, and where that occurs is right here at the 114 level, okay? And then with the markup here with the Fibonacci retracement, drawing it from high to low, I have our exit at the 61.8, also known as the price reversal zone or the PRZ. So again, because of the bullish candle that just formed, which is extremely big, I mean, this is a great candle here. With a lot of wicking action coming off of the trend line, I am expecting a continuation to the top of the zone. And then once we reach the top, a drop down to the 61.8. I do believe it's going to break below the trend line and it's going to go down. Ultimately, because we're at a resistance and it's time for a reversal once it gets to that point, in my opinion. And I'll zoom out so you guys can get a better look. I mean, you guys can see historically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touches to the support. I'm sorry, to the resistance, and it dropped. I mean, this is a no-brainer, you guys, right? It continued to hit the ceiling time after time after time, and it failed and got rejected. This is a highly reliable SNR situation, very reliable resistance zone. I look to sell that zone every single time until it proves otherwise. And even back here in 2017, we have the month of December of 16 into January of 17. It did push beyond that zone, but again, failed the zone and went down dramatically. On this trade, if our analysis is correct, we'll be looking to catch 300 pips. Not a bad trade. Anybody have any questions or comments over this setup here? Go ahead and unmute. Go ahead and comment in the chat box. Anything that you see off of your analysis at all that may even conflict with what I have here? It's all about interaction, you guys. Jump on this call, interact. Let's talk about it. This is trading. It could be a buy. It could be a sell. I'm not always right. You know, nobody's always right. So I'd like to hear different perspectives.
Yeah, I'm sitting there looking back at that head and shoulders pattern. I'm like, that level is just so strong, man.
Right, right. And the head and shoulders at this level here, right here in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it just totally, it never breaks through.
So that's just giving me a big confirmation that level is like a good sell-off level.
Right, exactly. Yep. And that's what we call a high probability SNR level. It's just, you know, repeatedly shown us, and we're on the daily. So we trade from the top down. We're on the daily. If it's true on the daily, when we get to the smaller time frames, we could really pick and choose on our day trades where we enter on sells. It'll be a prime opportunity when it hits the top. So you're also going to be looking for a sell there then, Chris?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing from my own analysis.
For sure. Definitely. Okay, cool. It sounds like we're on the same page there. Anybody else? Carrie, John, Sasha? Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate that. Rachel, April, Brian, anything that you guys are seeing here on this chart?
No, not necessarily. I don't know, I'm just a little confused, but it's more so stuff that I'm gonna have to go over with you on a one-on-one. But no, I don't have any
Okay.
questions,
Anything in
really.
particular that you need clarification on?
Well, I kind of got lost at the fib levels. I still struggle with fibs. I don't really understand those
Okay.
when you were going through those, but for the most part, I understand everything else.
Okay. Well,
I'm here at work, so I was trying to follow you for the most part.
Yeah, so what we do with a Fibonacci retracement, and go ahead and watch the training. Once you get to level 3 advanced, it's going to cover all that for you. But when we draw a fib, what we do is, if we're looking at an uptrend, which this was an uptrend, we start our fib at the bottom, okay, because that's where the trend started. So that'll be the 0 level. And I'll go ahead and actually remove this one and redraw it so that you can see from start to finish. So I'll go ahead and draw. I'll grab my Fibonacci retracement. Now, the cool part about fibs, you guys, is there's nothing that you can do really wrong with fibs. As long as you're going from the bottom to top or top to bottom, your fib's right. You can have multiple fibs. So let's take a look at that. If I go from the bottom of the trend to the top of the trend, right, 0 to 100, Oh, I did it backwards. Sorry about that. But either way, it still works. Actually, I want to show you that. Either way, it's still going to work. We're looking for a sell, so we're going from top to bottom. Sorry about that, guys. We're looking for a sell, so we're drawing from top to bottom. So from the top candle to the bottom, and I'll go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see how I did that. Can everybody see that? The 0 is at the bottom candle, which would really be at the bottom wick, but because there's no wick there, we'll draw it from the bottom candle. And then the top is at the top candle. Actually, it's a little bit further. Right there. Okay? Now, between the 61 and the 50%, can anyone tell me the relevance of the 50% and 61.8? Can anyone tell me what that's called with an explanation, please?
Is that a possible area of like a retest?
Very close, very close. So that's actually known as the PRZ, or the price reversal zone. Okay? So the 50% and the 61.8 historically is known as the PRZ, or the price reversal zone, which means that price has a tendency to consolidate in that area and then reverse, okay? Or it has a tendency to stop there. So what that means is, if we're looking for an entry and an exit, we're going to go ahead and enter where our trade says, okay, we're ready to enter, price action and market structure confirmed, right here at the trend line. We're going to look to exit at the 61.8 because that's the top of the price reversal zone, and that's also the golden ratio. I don't really want to hold the trade lower than that. Sorry about that, guys. I don't want to hold the trade lower than that because I don't know if it's going to go lower than the 61.8, and I don't really need to. Because like we just talked about, we're going to catch 300 pips here, okay? I want to go for what I know. And what I know is that price likes to reverse between the 50 and the 61.8, and we're starting our trade at the top. So with that being said, I'm going to place my entry at the top of the zone, which is right up here at the trend line, and I'm going to hold down to the PRZ. How do we know that's the PRZ? Well, I just told you, right? But if we take a look and we actually pull this fib all the way across, take a look. Very interesting. Okay. I want you guys to notice here, I wanted you guys to actually see the levels. So right here, is our 50 and 61.8 level. Now I want you to notice what price does in this level, okay? You can see that it hits right here twice. It hits the 61.8, respects it, and then goes back down. You can see here, price goes up to the top, comes back down. Let me grab my brush so you guys can see this. It respects the 61.8 and then goes back up. It comes back down, respects the 61.8, comes up, but then ultimately it does go all the way down, okay? But if we look over here, price right here respects the 61.8 and goes down, okay? Two other times right here, it respects the 61.8 and goes back down. You guys can see here in this whole zone, price respects the 61.8 and goes up. Is everybody seeing this? Can everybody also see how price is going in between the 61.8 and the 50 and consolidating? Can everybody see that? I want you guys to take a close look at this for a moment.
It's
Analyze
like
the
ping pong.
Fibonacci levels here. Can everybody see how that works? All right, perfect.
It always goes back to those levels.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why we use Fibonacci, because it's definitely the best tool, in my opinion, for entry and exit, without a doubt. Now, let's say that I remove this Fibonacci. Let's say I remove this retracement tool, and I want to take a look at something else. Now, usually I would go ahead and add another one on top of it, but I don't want to confuse you. So let's just say that I looked from, see, let's say we started with this trend right here, the most recent trend. From the top to the bottom, right here. Pretty interesting how in my analysis, I'm looking, see the green arrow is going to the 75. Right now, based on the most recent trend, price is actually running into the 61.8. Can everybody see that? Can everybody see that? So with that being said, there is a possibility that it could go down from here, but ultimately, again, I'm expecting it to go back up to the trend line and then fall. But you can take a deeper look into the most recent trend by drawing your Fibonacci here and seeing what's happening. And take a look at these wicks. These wicks are really respecting that 25% level, so I know that that's a very relevant level for us to look at in the most recent trend. But again, if I draw my Fibonacci back down at the bottom, take a look at what's happening. It's respecting the 61.8. Okay? It's respecting the 61.8. All right, perfect. So let's take a look at Euro JPY. I'm not going to go too crazy on this one, but I did drop a trade signal in the paid chat. I want everybody to take a look at this for a moment. Now, JPY is definitely my favorite currency to trade. I really like the market structure of JPY pairs, so I tend to trade them often. Let me know, you guys, if you guys have any questions on this, feel free to ask in the chat. Now, you guys can see we have a bit of consolidation here. What I actually want to do is I want to get rid of all of this. I'm going to go ahead and grab a new Fibonacci. So again, I'm going from top to bottom, from the top wick all the way to the bottom wick of that trend. I want that whole range. I want that whole range. Now I want somebody, someone to unmute and let me know what's going on here. What do you notice with these Fibonacci levels? Where is price consolidating? What is price reacting to?
Between the 50 and 37?
Correct. Yes, really between, mostly that, but really between the 37 and the 61. But right now, really tight in between the 37 and the 50. So that's a really good indicator that we would be looking to sell the 50% and buy the 37%, right? However, we don't really want to trade a consolidation. So if I do a little bit of market geometry here, it's kind of interesting to notice some triangles that form. I see some tightening happening with the consolidation. I think it's getting ready to make a pretty big move here. And you guys, if you see shapes, draw those shapes on your chart, okay? You want to make sure that what you're looking at is valid, okay? So I would actually probably get rid of that one. That one didn't make 2 or more touches. However, this one has made 2 or more touches. That's a validated top of the triangle. And then we have this trend line down here has definitely made 2 touches at least. So there's validation there. Can everyone see how there's consolidation between those 2 lines? So right now we're looking at a bearish candle forming on the daily. I'm expecting a move down to the bottom of this trend line, and then it may go back up. So a little bit of a consolidation here continuing to happen, going here, then here, and then we're either looking for a move down here or a move to the upside at the end of this triangle. Based on your analysis, what would you expect to happen at this level? Can anyone tell me if you're expecting a long-term move to the upside or a move to the downside? Long-term.
Man, with that much consolidation, it's kind of tricky to really think about it. You know what I mean? I kind of like want to wait to see what the market does, let the candlesticks move around a little bit.
Exactly. Right. And I'm definitely on board with that. If we're looking at a long-term trade, I will definitely want to see what happens. I agree with that 100%. And that's exactly what you should do. So that was pretty much the best answer. So what you want to do here is we want to wait for price to break below the 37.5. And I'm talking clear, large, red, high volume candle, or above the 50% with a high volume green candle to determine whether we would enter a buy or a sell. Or short term, you can trade between the 50 and the 37.5, buying the 37.5 or selling the 50% level. With that being said, I really like to trade ranges. Many of you have been taught to trade with the trend. There's nothing wrong with that. But with that being said, this range has been really predictable. I mean, look at it. Every candle that's hit the 50 has gone down, and every candle that's hit the 37.5 at the bottom has gone up multiple times. How many candles are there? What, 10, 12, 15? We should be buying and selling those levels, right? You jump down to a smaller time frame. Let's look at how many pips that is. Hey, listen, if the market's going to consolidate, I want to take advantage of that 100 pip range. That's a 100 pip range. Let's take advantage of that. Okay? That's 100 pips. Not bad. Not bad. If it breaks above, we'll enter a buy. If it breaks below, we'll enter a sell. Okay? But for now, I would be buying and selling in between that range, just short-term trades. And honestly, I'm not looking for 100 pips. If I go down to my 4-hour, I'm looking for like 50. Really, that's about it. I'm looking for about 50. So again, really, I would go to that bottom trend line, which when I go to the 4-hour, I need to pull it down a little bit more. Can you see that? Because we're not really touching the points, but now we are, now that I pulled it down. Sometimes you need to make an adjustment because you do get more accurate as you go to the smaller time frames. So I would go from here. I see strong wicking action. Those of you that have seen my training know wicking action indicates a reversal in volume moving to the downside. I'm looking for a downside move here, a continuation, catching us, well, to the bottom trend line, it would be 90 pips. But really, I'd probably go to that next level, which we just talked about, 65 pips. And I'm even more conservative than that. I'm even more conservative than that. I'm going to go to right about here. Why would I do that? Why would I close my trade above that Fibonacci level? Can anyone tell me that? This is like key.
Because you might get a quick crash if it's going up that high.
Well, right. I'm talking about the exit, Rachel. When we get down here toward the bottom, we get ready to close the trade. Why would I close the trade above where we're expecting it to stop?
Because it might still consolidate, or no? Am I on the right track?
Well, it will. You're right. That's right. We do expect it to continue to consolidate until the end of the wedge. But the reason why, see, most traders would look at this and say they want to sell the top and buy the very bottom. Don't focus on extremes. Don't focus on selling that exact trend line and buying that bottom trend line. You want to get out and be conservative. If we expect price to come down here to this bottom trend line like it has before, that's great. And you know what? The market has shown us that it likes to do that, but I'm looking to get out right here because who knows? It might go like this and then go back up. It might not make it all the way down to the bottom. I'm looking to take profit where I know I'm going to take profit. And guess what? That's right at that level. That's right at that 50% level. I'm looking to take profit there. Right, Chris?
I think that's the biggest thing, man, is everybody has to know their take profits and how much they want to get in every trade. You know what I mean?
Hey, bro. Yep. And you know, you could ride it out all the way, but at that point, you're risking missing your take profit. And every trader knows it's all about taking profit when you can. And for me, this strategy works because you're not always guaranteed to get a trend line touch to a trend line touch, but you are pretty much guaranteed to get within that zone. So instead of buying or selling the top and buying the bottom or placing a sell up here and closing my trade all the way down here, I'm looking to place a sell right here below the trend line where I see the wick, so I see the confirmation. Then I place my sell because price action has confirmed it. And then I'll sell all the way down to right here where I know I can take profit instead of risking going down all the way to the bottom, potentially dealing with a reverse. Because listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't close it out before it gets to that trend line, let's say it does end up going back up, you're going to look at it and try and rationalize it and say, oh no, it's just pulling back a little bit. It's just creating a bear flag. It's going to keep going down. It's just retracing here. But what if it doesn't? What if it keeps going? What if it keeps going back up to your trend line? Right? What if it pulls back to your entry? Then you missed out on all that profit. You missed out on 70 pips. So the point is, be conservative, take profit instead of being greedy and missing out. All right, so does that make sense, you guys? And that's what I focus on. That's what we focus on with our strategy. That's why so many people are taking profit, because we're taking profit. We're not holding the trade for a year. We're getting in where it makes sense, where price tells us, okay, time to react, time to sell. And then we're getting out when price says, okay, we're nearing the exit. It's time to get out a little early. That way we can capture this profit and move on. You always want to live to trade another day. Always. Now, what I'm really curious about, and everybody pay attention to this, what I'm really curious on, and I would love to hear I really want to hear, even if you're speculating, I want to hear it. Where do you guys think price is going to go from here? Do you guys think price is going to continue down or continue up? And right now, looking at this chart, I can give you a rational explanation for why I think my long term, I can tell you, I can give you an answer to that and give you an explanation. Can anyone tell me whether they think long term we're going down to the bottom of this range or the top? I'd love to hear some thoughts on this, you guys. What do you guys think? What are we looking at here? Are we going back up to the, let me grab a horizontal line. Are we going back up to the top of this range? Or are we going down to the bottom?
I think
What do
it's
you
going
guys
to go
think?
up. It's
Okay,
going to
you're
go up
predicting.
before it goes down.
Okay. Are you saying it's going to go up to this 100% level, 133,279, Sasha?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? That's one vote for a move to the upside. Go ahead and unmute, you guys. I want to hear from you.
Zoom in a little
Come on,
bit
guys.
on the candlesticks.
I wanted to kind of give you that bigger picture too, Chris.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of see what happened before.
Man, that's crazy. Like, look at all those like scalping opportunities.
I know that's what I mean, dude. I mean, you could have scalped dude. Oh man, you would have made so much money in that range.
Like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm just looking at it, bro. It's like straight uptrend, downtrend, uptrend, downtrend. Like, you can't
Yeah.
beat that. It's
No, you
clean.
really can't. That's why I love trading ranges. Everybody says trade with the trend, and that's true, but you can make so much money trading in that little range right there, backed by 5 different confirmations. You got your Fibonacci's, price action, market structure. I'm sure on the lower time frame, you had some divergence in there. RSI was definitely oversold or overbought at some point. I mean, those are some good trades. What do you guys think? I only heard from Sasha. Chris, what do you think, bro? You think we're going up to the 133, or do you think we're going down to the 124?
Oh man, I'm taking a look. Let me see. Well, it looks like an inverted head and shoulders right there, like previously.
Okay, right about here.
No, I'll go
Or
back
here.
a little bit. Right, yeah, right
Right-
there, that area.
Right here? Yeah, I see that. Okay.
So let me see. It's going up. It hit a major downtrend is what I'm looking at. Like that downtrend to consolidation is like crazy.
Right.
So I'm thinking it might hit an uptrend, honestly.
Okay, cool. I like that. All right, so
Because you
2
have two
votes for
taps
uptrend.
already.
What's that, Sasha?
You have 2 taps already, like the double bottom there. I can't really see.
Uh-huh. Yep, the double bottom here. Yep, I
Yeah.
see that.
So that's what makes me think, even though it went up from there, but that makes me think it might still go up a little more.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's see what everybody else thinks. Carrie, Rachel, April, what do you all think on this?
I don't want to pull a Miss Cleo on you, so I'm just trying to learn from what everybody else is saying.
No, let's give an analysis. Every trader's entitled to their analysis, Rachel.
Well,
You don't have to go with what we're saying. It's whatever
Yeah,
you
go
see.
with whatever you think's gonna happen here.
well, I don't have enough knowledge to make an analysis here. So I'm just
Hey, listen, you know what? But you can see the chart. What do you just even if you're speculating for now, that's I don't recommend that ever. But what if you had to guess, up or down, what would you say?
I would say I think we'll be consolidating for a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we're gonna go down
Okay.
kind of to
Great.
the side.
Great. I'm glad you said that. Good. So we got 2 different perspectives.
Going to go up. We're gonna say,
What's that?
I said we're gonna consolidate for a little bit. We're gonna go down, kind of over by the support a little bit, and then but we're gonna eventually be going for an uptrend.
Okay. Perfect. All right. I'm glad we got 2 different analysis there. Let's take a look at this. Okay. I want to give you my kind of version of what I'm seeing here. Now, I want you to take a look at things from a different perspective. Chris mentioned something earlier that was very important. When it hit support, okay, up here at the top, you notice that there was a high volume downtrend. Okay, that's a lot of volume. Okay, that was definitely a big move to the downside. However, there were, in terms of like, if we took a measured move there, and a measured move is basically where I just measure how long that downtrend was and compare it to something else. Watch this. This is pretty cool, you guys. If I take that trend line, see how I just measured that, and I take it over here, look what happens. Very close, isn't it? Watch when I pull it over here.
Oh, that's crazy, bro. It's matching up with all those downtrends. That's crazy. Like those major downtrends.
Yes, that's called taking a measured move. For those of you that have watched I always forget his name. We talked about him last time and I forgot. His name's Luke, though. He's a crypto trader. Okay. Quick Fingers Luke. That's what I think. I think that's his name. He does the measured move with the bases. That's how he trades. So if you look at these, they're very, very similar. Okay, this one probably matches up precisely. Look at that. The most recent downtrend was exactly the same length. So with that being said, we're seeing a lot of sideways movement here, but I want to show you something else. Take a look at this. Let's go back to Naked Forex here for a minute. If I just go ahead and draw some trusty trend lines here, take a look at this. No, I guess I'll pull it down. Now what are we looking at? Well, technically, based on this information here, we should be definitely looking at an uptrend. Right? We're at the bottom here. Now, the reason why, see, initially I would have said a downtrend, and I would have said, hey, we're going to go back to the bottom of this range. So these are our options. We could go back down to the bottom of this range, but I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I think that because of this long sideways movement and this really tight consolidation, because we always talk about it, what happens when we have a lot of sideways movement? We have a reversal. Even if it's a short-term reversal, and look, guys, this sideways movement's been going on for a while. I mean, look at that. So with that being said, I'm looking at an uptrend here as well. Overall, looking at an uptrend. Can everybody see that? Let me know in the chat box if that kind of, sheds some light on a few things. Now, if I take another measured move, another way that we can predict how long this trend is going to last, I want to look at the most recent uptrend, which goes from here to here, okay? And I want to go ahead and drag that trend line over here. And that should be our target right here. Which guess what happens up there? We have resistance up there, don't we? It's very interesting where these exits happen. That whole zone is really a resistance zone. Look at that. Look at all that. So with that being said, we could be going, it could go from where this arrow ends to where this yellow line goes to the top. That's what we would be looking at. But ultimately, I would probably be looking to exit somewhere in here. Why would I do that? Because I'm looking to catch some pips, okay? I'm not trying.
Yeah.
What's that?
Not trying to be greedy.
Right. And if we take a look at that,
My contribution.
Lovely.
All right, look at what?
580 pips. Not bad. I could even close it at the top of this range and catch 225. See, on the daily, you guys, it makes so much sense, but most people don't have the patience to wait and hold.
Diagrams, contacts.
Mhm.
It's like she's diagramming.
So with that being said, just take a look at your trading style and say, hey, am I willing to hold this or not? You know what I mean? If you are a day trader, look for, 50 to 100 pips. If you're a swing trader, catch that swing. Take it. If you're a position trader, hold the thing for a month. You know what I mean? It's all based on your personality and what you're looking to do. So I appreciate you guys for being on this call. If you're brand new, we have April who's on the call. Moto E5 Play. I'm not sure who you are, but go ahead and inbox me after the call. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. And then Carrie's coming from the guest chat and Chris as well. I'd love to get everybody plugged in with some training, okay? If you have not received any training so far, I definitely want to get you guys set up. So let me know now in the chat box if you're brand new, if you would like some training. Just go ahead and drop a 1, yes, training. If you would like access to some of our training. Rachel and Sasha are already getting the training, so I want to make sure that everybody on this call has an opportunity to kind of walk through the training, see how it works, understand our mentorship, and all of that as well. So that would be April, Chris, Carrie, or Moto E5 Play. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Doesn't say it on the Zoom call. Okay, yeah, April's busy with her daughter. She's going to want to get involved in some training. For those of you that are brand new, let's set up a one-on-one call. We can kind of go over how all of that looks and get you set up with something, okay? If you haven't received any training videos at all, reach out to me. I have some videos I can give you. They're free videos to get you started, okay? And then we can kind of, go from there. I hope everybody gained value from tonight's call. I appreciate you all being on. Definitely make sure to catch these webinars, whether it's me, Genevieve, Matt, Daniel, whoever runs these calls. We always try to bring maximum value. I only had time to go over a few charts, but I wanted it to be educational. I wasn't really here to give away all my trade ideas tonight. What I wanted to do was really help you guys gain insight on how you can independently trade and make your own analysis. And again, there is no right or wrong. Analysis is analysis. We're looking for confirmation, okay? But at the end of the day, there's no right and wrong, okay? There's a high probability, but every trader is inclined to look at things a certain way. And depending on the time frame that you're looking at, you could be in a buy or a sell. On the daily, we could be looking at a sell, but on the 15-minute, it could be a buy, right? So ultimately, it all depends on you and what you're looking at. Yes, if you want to learn more about measured moves, you want to learn more about bases, you want to learn more about precision entries and exits, it's a lot easier than most of us have learned. Some of us have been taught some crazy ways on when to get in, when to get out. I try to keep it very simple. And for some of you, yeah, Rachel, that are brand new and learning, just keep going through the training. A lot of these concepts will make more sense. So again, I appreciate you all for being on the call. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or you want some additional training. Go ahead and tag me in the chat or reach out to me in my inbox, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.